Xavi and Iniesta. That was them at that.
Xavi and Iniesta.
Absolute best. That was an utter masterclass.
Probably my favourite duo in football ever. That's probably Ronaldo's peak here, I'd argue.
But he should be saving it. He's in the right position, Carrie, to just grab it. And he just palms it into the top corner. It's crazy. Hello, it's me again. Welcome to Laceless. This is our football section of the Polygon House podcast. It's me again, Charlie, and I'm joined by my fellow football superfan, Aram.
So,
how are you today?
Probably good today.
We thought we'd do a little fun topic and rank this decade's Champions League finals. I think it's fair to say we're both pretty huge fans of the Champions League. Any big football fan will be a fan of the Champions League. Lots of iconic games, iconic players, iconic moments. And this decade, I think it's fair to say we've had
a good decade.
A lot of good finals. Like even some of them that are going to be lower down, most are still pretty good finals, really. They've still got a lot of memorable moments. This decade is...
Like, they all have, like, except for, like, maybe one or two, like, all the finals have some sort of, like, meaning to them that makes them absolutely brilliant.
Exactly. And, of course, this decade has been dominated pretty much by Messi and Ronaldo, probably for me, the two greatest players of all time. I think they've made a contribution like no other, really, in football. Now, before we start, we have a little confession to make. We'd like to explain, just very briefly, our history of being football fans. See, we say we're super fans, but we've only been super fans since maybe around, for me, 2014, maybe you a year earlier, a bit before that.
It's kind of like end of 2013 when I started to get into it, like kind of when the 2013-14 season really kicked off. Like you were more towards like mid 2014, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, Aram basically became a football encyclopedia overnight, it seemed. Yeah. And then, basically, I had no interest in football for early, I'd say like spring of 2014, let's say. I had no interest in football. And then it was Aram really who became obsessed, basically, I think it's fair to say. And he got me into it. So we haven't actually watched the 2010-2013 finals live. We've watched highlights of them, extended highlights, multiple times. We know exactly what happened in these games. I think we can sort of tell what the flow of each game was. But for those who are watching who have watched those games live, and if we say one of those games was brilliant or not so good, or this happened and that happened, and if we're wrong, then tell us we're wrong, because we may not be 100% accurate. It's just our opinion, this ranking at the end of the day. If you think our number 10 on this list was the best final, then no problem. We're all just here to have a fun, friendly little chat about it. Yeah. So now that we've got that disclaimer out there, so from 2014, we have watched the finals live, just to clarify that for you people. So with that little disclaimer out the way, how this is going to work is, so me and Aram have done our ranking before. We've ranked them. We're going to go through two at a time, talk about them. Then when we've gone through it, we're going to try and come up with a sort of unanimous one. I think we've got fairly similar. I think we'll have fairly similar tastes. Yeah. Could be wrong. Aram could be completely different to me. I have no idea. And we'll try and come up, with a unanimous list. Hopefully there won't be too many sticking points, but we'll see.
I was like, to get right off the bat, like just to start with the worst one, I think we can both agree, like the 2019 Champions League final was probably the absolute worst out of the 2010s ones.
Yes, I think that is my number 10 as well. It was that game was decided in the first minute.
Yeah.
When Sissoko did that handball, Salah scored a very good penalty when arrowed it right, a very powerful shot right into the middle of the net. And then the rest of the game, it was just Well, actually, it was really Tottenham actually had most of the ball. Liverpool just really just parked the bus most of the game, really, which they didn't really play like that at all throughout their
No,
season.
like a proper gegenpressing team. Like they were like the ones that were just winning the ball like right up the pitch. Like they were like, I wouldn't say they were the most exciting team because I don't think that Man City are a lot more exciting than Liverpool, but they were an exciting team. They were an attacking team.
Yeah, I
But
mean that front three of Salah, Mane, and Firmino
yeah,
is very exciting a lot of times to watch. They're incredibly fluid and dynamic. All have different styles that complement each other. We just didn't see that at all. They very much relied on their defence, which of course their defence is very, it's world class. They've got Van Dijk, who was easily the best centre back last year. I think it was Matip playing with him. I believe was it Gomez?
I think it was Matip.
It was Matip, and then they had Trent Alexander-Arnold and Andy Robertson, they were probably the best players in Alisson. Alisson made a couple of good saves. I remember Ericsson had quite a good free kick, and he made a good save from that. But we didn't really see anyone else play, and even though Tottenham had most of the ball, they just didn't do enough with it. They just sort of tried to do long balls,
but then again,
weren't going anywhere.
Like like with like Liverpool and Tottenham, like Liverpool, especially at that time, are like they are kind of like a league above like Tottenham. They are kind of like a level above. Like we all knew that Liverpool were going to win. Like if anything, though, the semi-finals were way better than the final.
Oh, the semi-finals were absolutely terrific. That whole season, last season's Champions League season, I think was one of the best ever. Those semi-finals were just, especially the second legs, the Liverpool and Tottenham. Yeah, the Tottenham comebacks.
Tottenham
were just incredible. Yeah, the Man City Tottenham game, even the group stage was had some great games. Liverpool Bayern Munich second leg, that was a fantastic game. Mane at his very best.
Well, like that, I wanted Ajax to win it. Like that whole Ajax game with Ligt, De Jong, Van der Beek, Neres, like that was
a real crazy. Sort of the rebirth of Ajax, and it's a shame that hasn't continued this season at all because most of their players. They did sell, and Ziyech has now gone to Chelsea. So, if we do, if you guys want, semi-finals ranked, those 2019 semi-finals will be up there. So it was kind of the disappointment of it as well because we've been treated spoiled so many great games, and then it just come to a really mediocre game where Liverpool just muscled Tottenham out of it really, and then Origi scored near the end. Origi. Clutch striker that season, 2 goals against Barca and that goal in the final. Not much more to say about Liverpool. That was their 6th Champions League win. So my number 9 is the 2016 final.
Okay.
Yours is the same?
Yeah, it's the same because it was a good final. Like almost all of the finals, like maybe with the exception of 2019, were actually good, but this one just wasn't as good as the others. Like it didn't have quite as much meaning as other finals.
Yeah, I just don't think it was as exciting of a game as the others. It was a good game in terms of actually the quality of their play. Real, I think it was a game in 2 halves. Really, Real were really on top. Probably the first half, I'd say they were sort of moving the ball about quite nicely, not making a huge amount of chances. And then sort of the second half, I think Athletic actually were a lot better than Real that second half. They were really going at them. Real were really struggling to hold them back. And then in extra time, it was pretty tight. Maybe signs that Real were just, well, they're both Madrid teams, aren't they? You can't call one Madrid. Real maybe just starting to edge them out. I remember Bale had a good shot pretty near the end of extra time. And I think it was Juanfran did a really good stop off the line. And just not as many iconic moments. It's interesting to say, I don't know if you've heard this, Aram. Obviously, Ramos scored from Cruz's free kick and then Bale headed it back and he sort of tapped it in. I think it was about the 15th minute. Mark Clattenburg, who's the referee, did say that goal was offside. They actually made a mistake.
I mean, I don't know how Mark Clattenburg was referee for Champions League final because it's not like, even though he is like Premier League standard, like it's not like Champions League final standard for refereeing. Like he has had his
he refereed 3 big games that year. He did the Champions League final, he made that mistake. The FA Cup final, where he made a big mistake, I remember Crystal Palace. There was this incident where he should have paid the advantage, and he stopped, and they actually scored, but it didn't count because he didn't play the advantage. Then he refereed the Euros final, Euro 2016 final. He was pretty good in that one. I don't think he made a lot of mistakes in that. But anyway, that's just thought it was an interesting point. Yeah. So really, and Atletico, they should have won it really, because that goal they did say was offside, and then Carrasco got that really well worked goal actually, and then Griezmann had that penalty when Pepe brought down Torres, and he just whacked it against the bar.
That was just like the year of Griezmann just not performing in finals. Like Griezmann was brilliant that year, but he just always failed at like the last hurdle.
Yeah, he's a bit like Henry in that way. That obviously they both play scintillating football, but sometimes in these big games they do fluff their own. Really, actually, probably the best bit of that final wasn't really the game itself, because it was a good quality game, but it just wasn't that exciting. It was probably the penalty shootout. I thought the penalty shootout was really good. Real took some. I remember Bale scored one of his penalties. He had cramp on his left leg, and he still managed to get it in. And then Juan Fran, he hit it against the post, and then Ronaldo scored a really nice penalty to win Real's 11th Champions League title. And I guess it was significant in a way, because it did start the 3 years in a row of Real winning the Champions League 3 years in a row. So a lot of brilliant world-class names in that team. You had, really a lot of them at their peak, really. Ronaldo, Benzema, Marcelo, Ramos, Pepe, Carvajal, Navas. It was just, they really were at their peak. It was just a shame we didn't really get to see that. You just saw that more in other games, like Real Madrid's 3-0 comeback win against Wolfsburg. That was Ronaldo scoring another iconic hat trick. So, and they did have a bit of a lucky run, to be honest, Real, to get to that final.
Let me just say about Real, this is why I don't consider them a top 5 of all time, side kind of I don't know if I even consider them top 10 sides of all time.
The 3 UCL in a row team?
Yes, because every year, I'll tell you why. It's because every year they were in contention they might not do it. They weren't ever really solidified as the absolute best team in the world. They always got through on some sort of luck kind of they always had everything put in the right places for them.
So that's number 10, number 9. My number 8 is the 2010 final.
No, mine is different. Mine is 2015 final.
Okay.
2010.
Okay, well that's pretty close as well.
Yeah.
The reason why I went, that might seem a bit low. If there's any Inter fans out there, we're very sorry, because it was a very significant moment. Winning that, it was Inter Milan 2, Bayern Munich 0. Some really iconic names in that Inter Milan team. You had Lito, Eto'o, Schneider, Zanetti, Lucio, Samuel, Julio Cesar, Maicon. Yeah, I mean it was a fantastic team. Mourinho really helmed a team that was quite versatile, could play some brilliant attacking football, but their main strength, of course, was in the art of defense. I would just say maybe the only reason why I put them there is because I didn't watch that final. I've watched several highlights of it. I can see I just don't have maybe as much sort of personal attachment, because we are we're sort of ranking this as well. Part of our criteria, I guess, is a little bit of a sort of personal memories with it. We're trying to rank them mainly on the quality of the games and sort of the iconic status of these things, but also a little bit of personal memory. So I don't really have a lot of personal attachment to that. I mean, Bayern did have, from highlights I watched, Bayern did have quite a few chances in that game. They had some good names in that team. They had Robben, they had Müller, Klose, Gomez. But they just, I think overall, they had a lot of great names. But as a team, that just, they did win the Bundesliga that year. But just compared to that Inter team, I think Inter were the much more complete package. I don't think watching highlights, it's probably again the most exciting final of the decade. But Diego Milito deserves a lot of credit. He scored the winner in the Coppa Italia final against Roma. He scored the goal that won them the league, and then he scored the 2 goals that won the Champions League. So he was one of the best strikers in the world.
I was about to say as well, like for the 2010 one, like the reason why it's 7 for me and not 8 is because the reason for that is that, like a lot of Zanetti in that game, because I know it seems more of like a personal story, but Zanetti, I think his grandma died or something. It was either his grandma's like mother or whatever. Like the same day of like the Champions League final and stuff, and won it for her. Like
I think it was his mother, I think, but let us know if we are wrong in the comments.
Because the final and stuff, like that final, I feel had a lot of meaning to it. Like I mean, like I know, like meaning is kind of like some sort of it's not really a physical concept, but I am like all the finals from straight on the 10-9. I feel they all had some sort of meaning. But like if I say with even my number 8 has meaning, like because the 2015 one was my number 8. Like it's because like it was so good. The reasoning behind that was the MSN kind of was really like the showcase of MSN, how good they were.
Yeah, so you, I think we've swapped them. So your number 8 is 2015 and number 7 is 2010. So my number 8 is 2010 and my number 7 is 2015. So
the story behind 2010 was more. I prefer the story behind 2010, like, and 2015 was kind of one-sided. Like Barcelona were pretty dominant, I'd say. Like
yeah, I mean the reason why I put them one higher. I do agree. Maybe 2010 did have a bit more of a special story because they were the first Italian team to win the treble, and they overcame a very tricky sort of set. They put on an iconic semi-final against Barcelona over those 2 legs to get there. The reason why I think I just put them pit Barca is I just feel like the actual team itself of 2015 Barca was a bit more special. I mean, you had MSN, Messi, Neymar, Suarez at the absolute peak of their powers. I mean, some of those performances were just incredible. I remember Neymar's, second leg against Bayern Munich, he scored 2 goals. Suarez's performance against PSG.
Messi against Bayern, that goal, like
Messi against Bayern. Yeah, oh God, I mean, what a goal. They were just absolutely unstoppable that season. They did take a little while to get going that season. I remember when they got going, no one could stop them. They were just a relentless force that also won the treble, of course.
Suarez was banned for it's like 4 months and stuff into the season.
Yeah, he was a couple of I think it was 2 months of the season. I think he did 2 months before joining, then another 2 months, because of the World Cup biting Chiellini incident. Crazy man. But I just put them one more because I think in that final, I think just I think it was just the beauty of the football they were playing. Juve were in it for about. They were playing well. They sort of like the first 25 minutes of the second half, I thought, oh, are Juve actually going to do this? Because Morata scored and they were starting to create a lot of chances. But then I was in this moment where Messi just started one of his many incredible dribbles, and he's wiggled his way past 3 players, has a shot. Buffon, he saves it, but then he gives it straight to Suarez, and then he just puts it in. And then from then on, Juve just couldn't take Barcelona. They were just, I mean, the names in that team, they were all just at the peak of their powers. You had Ter Stegen, Piqué, Mascherano, Dani Alves, Alba, Busquets, Rakitic, Iniesta, MSN, even Xavi was still in that team, not at the peak, but at his peak. But Pedro was there as well still. So we'll come back to that. So my number 8 is 2010 and number 7 is 2015, but Aram is the other way round. But I think that's when we come to the unanimous one, you may have convinced me a little bit maybe to swap them round.
Let me make a disclaimer though, like from here on out, kind of from number 6 onward, like all these finals were absolutely brilliant. Like it's extremely hard to.
Yeah, I think they actually just want to go back to 2015. The reason why I put it to 20 is because I watched it as well. Yeah. I did watch it. I had a bit more sort of personal attachment. I remember just sort of being blown away really by the football I was seeing from Barcelona. But yeah, you're right. From number 6, they're pretty much all now very absolutely fantastic matches really now, all for different reasons. So what is your number 6?
This may be quite controversial. This may really surprise you, but 2013.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Let me explain why.
Yeah, go on then.
Because it was absolutely brilliant. It was Bayern winning the treble was one of the greatest moments, and Robben's goal, even though it was sort of a fluff, it's just really beautiful to look at.
Oh, the combination that was the combination of Ribéry and Robben. That was robbery at their finest. That game.
Honestly, Ribéry should have won the Ballon d'Or. I know Ronaldo was good, but Ribéry should have won it. And there's actually a theory as to why Ronaldo has won so many. I'm not trying to doubt him, but the way they schedule games, for example, there'll be Portugal international games right before Ballon d'Or voting. So when Ronaldo performs well, people will vote for him, and because Ronaldo is the ultimate marketing footballer.
So why do you put that 2013? Because I won't tell you where I put 2013, but it's higher on my list.
Yeah. The reason I put 2013 that low is because it's simply the other ones were just better. Not necessarily more meaning, but just the game itself wasn't quite as good as the other finals. Yeah,
and I guess again because you didn't watch it live, maybe you don't have that attachment to it. I think that's. Well, I mean, you have to admit that was pretty special. I mean, that was the first all-German final. I mean, a big rivalry in Bayern and Dortmund. Obviously, Bayern won 2-1 in that final. From what I've watched of it, it was actually quite a close game.
Yeah,
I think the first half an hour, Dortmund actually were the better team. Neuer, some of the saves he was pulling off were incredible in that sort of first half. Some of the saves he was having to pull out were superhuman.
I mean, honestly, that Dortmund team that year was just Lewandowski, Royce, Goetze. I just wish Goetze had become the world-class player he was going to be.
I know, he had a lot of potential, didn't he?
That Ballon d'Or winner. If he didn't have that muscle degenerating disease or whatever, and if only Pep Guardiola had treated him better.
Yeah, it was bizarre actually, that game for Goetze, because he didn't play in that final. Actually, I think he had an injury. But strangely, before that final, he'd already signed for Bayern Munich to go there. So it must have been weird for him. Who did he want to win? The team he was part or the team he was joining? Must have been. I guess he did probably want Dortmund to win. He was still with them at the time, but it must have been slightly strange for him. My number 6 is, we'll get back to the 2013 180. My number 6 is the 2017 final.
Really?
But 6 and 5 could change any day. They're pretty close. I go 2017 because obviously that was the Real Madrid 4, Juventus 1. That was their second of their 3 consecutive Champions League trophies.
Yeah.
A very iconic team. I mean, Ronaldo, he was the ultimate big game player that season.
Yeah.
2 hat-tricks in a row against Bayern Munich and Atletico, and then another 2 brilliant goals in that final. The way he takes them, he's just so clinical.
Casemiro's goal as well.
Yeah, I mean, it did take quite a big deflection from Khedira, but yeah, he did hit it well. And Marcelo's, actually, I remember Marcelo's assist actually to set up Asensio. He completely left Mario Lemina for waste actually for that, and then he just crosses it in. So I mean, some fantastic football on display. Mandzukic's goal. I mean, it's a shame it was only it was a game they lost. It was a game they lost pretty heavily in the end. But I remember the 3 of us, were just going mental when Mandzukic scored that. And Higuain gives it to him, then Mandzukic just pops over his chest, bicycle kick, loops over Navas. He didn't have a chance. It was just a ridiculous goal. And I think actually had Juve won that final, the scoreline been a bit closer, or they'd gone into extra time, I think people would actually rank that goal a lot higher. I don't think it quite gets the respect it deserves, that goal sometimes. It was an incredible athletic feat. The reason why I put it a little bit lower, as much as I love this fight, from 6-1, we both of us love these games. Even though it's 6, it may seem low. It's still a fantastic game. The first half was tight between the two of them. Juve were putting Real to the sword at some points, but the second half, Real came out all guns blazing. Really, Real were just playing such high pressure. Really, they just, their wing backs were up so high. Juve just couldn't take the pressure and just didn't have the flair to cope with the likes of Isco and Ronaldo and Marcelo and Cruz, you know, to just deal with that sort of. It was a masterclass, really, that second half from Madrid. But I think in finals, you kind of, even though it maybe seemed a bit unfair to knock them low because one was more one-sided, but in a final, you want tension as well. And I feel like maybe the tension went a little bit in that second half because Real got the Casemiro and Ronaldo second were pretty quick one after the other, actually. And I think by then it just took the sting out of the game. It just wasn't quite as exciting.
It was an absolute spectacle. Like
of Real's football. It was an absolute. It was a complete spectacle, especially from Ronaldo. I fell in love with Ronaldo that season.
Then? Should we talk about our number?
Yeah, you go with your number 5.
2011. 2011's my number 5.
Okay, mine's pretty close to that, but yeah, you talk about 2011.
I love this final because honestly, it is like the epitome of Pep's Barcelona. Like probably my favorite team of all time. I probably just showcase how brilliant they were. So in that aspect, I feel it has a lot of meaning to me. Like it's still one of the best finals ever. Probably top 10 Champions League final.
Yeah, I mean, so that was, what was it, Barcelona 3, Man United 1. I mean, Barca just really, that final, they were all in their prime, pretty much. Again, you had Valdez, PK, Dani Alves, amazing story of Eric Abidal. Just come back from having liver cancer. He survived.
He beat it twice.
He beat it because he had it again later. That was his first time, and then to come back. I remember actually seeing from the highlight a beautiful gesture from Puyol, who was still the club captain, but he gave the armband to Abidal and he let him lift the trophy first to show what a remarkable comeback he was to put in a great performance. I mean, just also as well, Xavi and Iniesta. That was them at their absolute best. That was an utter masterclass.
Probably my favourite duo in football ever, Xavi and Iniesta. Like, and Messi as well. Like,
Messi the guy. He scored a brilliant goal. He just thundered that strike into the far right corner.
This may be a controversial view, but I'd argue that Xavi, Iniesta, and Messi is better than MSN.
Yeah, I think they're definitely one of the best duos. I mean, Messi really was just making that Man United team look old. Villa, easily one of the best strikers in the world that season. Pedro was young, but he was brilliant. Yeah, he was.
That Barcelona team, I feel suited Pedro a lot because if you look at his off the ball movement, if you look at the way he just got into spaces, that was just brilliant. And the ability of like Xavi and Iniesta and even Messi to pick him out, like he was just amazing.
It was, and I think the thing with that Man United team, they had a lot of world class players. Rooney was probably at his peak then. He scored in that final. Hernandez, he had a great season actually that year with Man U. He really burst onto the scene. But I think a lot of them were just starting to get a bit old in that final. They got to the final, obviously because they were world-class players, through a bit of experience. I think Ferdinand and Vidic, whilst doing world-class, weren't what they were at 2009 where they were at that final. I mean, they still lost the final, but Van der Sar, that was his last game. He wasn't what he was. Fabio was playing in that team. He wasn't too experienced.
Back in the day, Fabio was an absolute talent. Like
he was,
he was gonna be like it's just that Evra kept him out of the team. Like but he was gonna be like one of the best.
Evra was probably still during his prime, I'd say. Giggs was maybe starting to get a bit old. Jason Park, maybe not at his at his absolute best. So you can see Barca they just got a bit too good for them at that point. Watching highlights, I think the second half again. I think the first half, I think Man U were in the game, but the second half, Barca just the tiki taka. It was just ultimate. It was just such a complete unit. It was the most probably, if not the most complete football team we've ever seen.
I'd argue that it was the best football team of all time. Like, I'd argue that Pep Guardiola's they played the best football of all time as well. Like, I definitely argue. Like,
would you say that 2011 team is better than the 2000? Because obviously 2019 won the treble.
Yeah.
But if you put those two teams together, which team would you think is the better one?
If you put on 20, if you put
2009 versus 2011.
That is very like tough because both were absolutely brilliant. But I feel that for the 2011 team, like just hear Messi, like just Messi at that time, like he was just on another level. Like that was when he was truly the best player in the world, and maybe even had cemented himself as the best player of all time.
Maybe already. I think, yeah. And I think that I probably as a team, I probably prefer the players in the 2009 squad because they've got. I'm quite a big fan of Eto'o, a big fan of Henry. Those two were just actually Henry had a bit of a revival that year. Actually, he was great that year. But I think just more of those players from the 2011 team were more there. I mean, Busquets that was his first season in 2008-09. He was great, but in 2011 he was more at his peak, really. And I think just more of those players were just probably individually were just better in 2011 than 2009. But my number 5 is the 2018 final. Actually,
what? Really?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. Yeah, I mean, maybe that is a bit low. I'll tell you why it's number 5. A couple of pros for it. The second half of that game is iconic. What on earth was that second half? I mean, Gareth Bale's first goal. That has got to be the best goal. It was certainly in the Champions League final. For me, it's better than Zidane's volley that he scored. Maybe in any final. That just the jump he gets on that kind of from a decent cross from Marcelo, but still a sort of tricky ball. And he just kind of out of nowhere he does it. He just jumps. He's only come off the bench 5 minutes before, which I thought was really harsh from Zidane to put him on the bench for that game. Because he'd actually been having a pretty good run of form actually going into that game.
He just didn't fit into the formation. Like I think, thing is with Bale, like he didn't fit into Zidane's like ideal tactics. Like he really wanted to push Isco at that time.
Yeah, he wanted to play a free of like Isco in behind Ronaldo and Benzema, and I just don't think. But yeah, I mean, obviously Real went on to beat Liverpool 3-1, and then of course, what on earth happened with Loris Karius that second half?
Honestly.
What on earth was going on?
That's probably the worst performance in a final of any player. Probably one of the worst performances.
You say it's probably maybe the worst performance in a Champions League final. I mean, I couldn't believe it when we watched it. I mean, the first one is inexplicable. Benzema is right in front of him. You would think he'd kick it. He could run away from him. You know, Karius, you're allowed to move in your box. You can move and whilst holding the ball. And he just gives it to Benzema and he taps it in. And then the second goal that Bale scores it's a well hit. He hits it well. It's on target.
The last goal was
decent power. But he should be saving it. He's in the right position, Karius, to just grab it. And he just palms it into the top corner. It's crazy.
I can see why I wanted to palm it out. Like for both of his mistakes, you can see there was some rationale for it. He can justify it somewhat, but it's still one of the worst, probably the worst decisions you could have made.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of expressed my shock at it, but you can see what he was trying. It was just, how can you execute it so badly? Do you know what I mean? The reason why I put that a little bit lower is because Real were lucky that game. I think again, it was sort of one of their lucky finals. Again, I mean, Karius gave them those 2 goals kind of for free. Liverpool did.
I'd argue they were more dominant than Liverpool, though. I'd argue that they were a better team at that point because Liverpool were only really starting to form. I mean, they had got Van Dijk, but they still hadn't completely come into their own yet. And Madrid were the established better team.
Yeah, maybe. I certainly think Real used their experience to win that game. I'm not saying they were rubbish or anything. No, they showed their experience. And of course, another famous moment, Ramos taking down Mo Salah.
WWE.
Do you think that was intentional from Ramos, or do you think it was an accident?
I think it was. I think he did mean to, like, you know, play somewhat dirty, but I don't think he necessarily meant to break his arm in the way he did. Like, it was just Ramos being Ramos, basically.
Yeah, Ramos just bullying people basically on the pitch, which is what he does best in his defence. So yeah, I don't know. I just think in the first half, apart from that moment with Ramos and Salah, there wasn't much that was happening really. It was a bit cagey, really. Liverpool had some half chances, Real had some half. There wasn't really much going on. It was really the second half where it exploded to life. So that's why I put that one a little lower. But I put it above 2017, even though I think 2017 was the better game. 2018 just has a bit more nostalgia. I think it was just watching it there. I just think it had just a couple more iconic moments than 2017 final.
Yeah,
I just think it had more moments. I think that's why that are more memorable than the 2017 final. But I could quite easily swap those two. There's pros and cons. So what's your number 4? Oh yeah.
Being of 2017, that is my number 4.
Oh, 2017 is your number 4. All right.
Because, like, if you had to rank games on pure, like, excitement, kind of pure, like, you know, like how entertaining they were as games, like, if you knew nothing about the sport, it would probably be like 3 or 2, kind of. Like, simply because it didn't have as much meaning as the other ones that are about to come up. Like, I would argue that it is number 4, but it was just such an entertaining game. Like, Casemiro score, like, I know it was a deflection, but it was absolutely brilliant. Like, Mandzukic, bicycle kick, just that Real Madrid team as well. Like, I feel that was them in their prime, kind of.
I think that was sort of like, it's similar to you say Xavi and Iniesta in 2011. That was them, that you saw them at their prime. You saw really Modric, Kroos, the midfielder Modric, Kroos, Casemiro, and Isco play at their absolute best. They ran that final. They were just Kroos, Modric pinning the ball left to the side, linking up the play. Isco driving the attack forward. Casemiro just sort of running left, right, and centre to knock people off the ball, fighting the shield.
I mean, had Ronaldo as well. Like, Ronaldo just being, that's probably Ronaldo's peak here, I'd argue.
In terms of overall performances, sort of as an overall season, it's probably not his absolute best. But in terms of big games, I would say it's his best season.
Like, that's the season that people remember in Ronaldo's career the most, kind of.
Yeah, I think he definitely had the best. He was, in terms of him being a big game player, that was his best, because he had the 2 goals against Bayern in the first leg. In the second leg, he had the hat trick. He had the hat-trick against Atletico. He had a hat-trick against Atletico in La Liga as well. Yeah. He obviously scored the 2 goals in the fight. He was man of the match in that final. It's always funny. People say when he gets he kind of grows his hair and he has like sort of like this golden hair coming through. That's like him turning on his beast mode.
That's Super Saiyan. That's Super Saiyan.
He goes Super Saiyan with it. My number 4. So you put 2011 at 5. My 2011 is my number 4. Even though I didn't watch this live, I put it there just because it's probably maybe their best ever performance in that final. That or maybe their 5-0 win over Real Madrid earlier that season, I'd say. Yeah. But that final was just, it was just, when I see the highlights, it's just incredible. I mean, Messi is just running past those Man United players like they're not there. Villa scores a brilliant goal on the edge of the box, and Messi does a dazzling run leading up to that. He does this little fake skill against Nani, completely wipes the floor with him, runs in, and then he gives it to Busquets. Busquets passes it on, and Villa just curls it into the top corner. I just think that it was a great. I mean, Man U had won the Premier League that season. They were still, even though I said earlier, some of them were starting to get a bit old, but still world class. They still won the Prem that season. And they did. Rooney scored a nice goal, although Giggs was actually offside and the build-up,
Oh,
if you watch closely. But I just put it there just sort of for the legacy point of view, the sort of those 3 years of Barca between 2009 and 2011 where, okay, they didn't, well, and 20, I mean, they did lose La Liga that year, but they were still obviously a world-class team. Just under Pep, just sort of that iconic dynasty at its pinnacle, at its absolute peak. So that's my number 4. What is your number 3?
This may be a shocker. This may really be quite controversial because many people say 3, 2, and 1 are all probably top 5 Champions League games of all time to me. But
all right,
my number 3 is 2014.
Oh, now that's interesting because my 2014 is higher. Let's put it like that. But
it's because the other 2 were just better. It's only minute. The difference between 3 and 1 are the tiniest differences. But 2014 was just absolutely brilliant. It was just simply one of the best comebacks from Real Madrid. That Ramos header.
Oh, what a moment.
I mean, honestly, that was also the first establishment of Real Madrid becoming that dominating team. I know there was, that break in between with MSN, but from
in terms of their European dominance, it was the beginning, really.
Mm-hmm. And there were some brilliant performances, Di Maria that game.
Di Maria, I fell in love with Di Maria that game. Yeah. That was the first final and watch, and that was actually one of the first football games I actually kind of sat down and properly watched for that whole time. That was the game that really I sort of fell in love with football, really, or sort of started to get interested. And Di Maria, he was just running the show that game. He was just is this Messi or is this Di Maria? His dribbling skills were amazing. He was linking up the play everywhere.
Didn't he get 10 assists that Champions League season? Didn't he just get that shit ton of assists? I
don't know how many assists he got. I know he got a lot of assists. Yeah. He was just so crucial to their build-up play and kind of how they in attacks. Even though somebody's been able to get direct assists 9 times out of 10, he either starts the build-up or he's involved in the build-up. Mm-hmm. In those attacks. Well, if you don't mind, I want to come back to 2014 later. I want to talk about it more later. My number 3 is actually 2013. Now it's interesting. Because you put it in number 6. Yeah. When we come to China Yannis, I might put it a bit low, but I initially put it in number 3 because when I watch those highlights, I can see the score that Bayern beaten 2-1. But even I'm on the edge of my seat in that final watching those because. It was so tight, that final. Dortmund did pretty much matched Bayern that whole game. Like I said earlier, the first 30 minutes, Dortmund were the better team. They were really peppering at Bayern's defence. Neuer had to pull off a couple of humongous saves. I think Robben was just at his absolute best. It was interesting because he missed 2 quite big chances before where Weidenfeller, he also made some great saves, Weidenfeller. One of them, he with those Robben shots, one of them he saved off his face, he whacked it off there. Crazy man. And then one of them he just saves with his leg. So he's a very animated character. You obviously had great, amazing players in both of those teams. Dortmund were unlucky that year to not win a trophy. It just happened that Bayern just were the better unit than them. But Dortmund had Lewandowski, who just came off that 4-goal performance against Real Madrid. Royce.
Crazy about Dortmund? Do you want to know something crazy about Dortmund?
I do want to know something crazy about Dortmund.
Guess how much that whole team costs? That entire team, not even that one player.
Oh God,
37 million.
Wow, 37 million for all those players.
In today's market, that would just be great. What would be valued as 37 million nowadays? What level of player?
If Joao Felix can be purchased for 125 million,
and Callum Wilson rumored at 50 million or whatever.
Yeah, it's what would 2013 Marco Reus or Lewandowski be valued at today? 200 million? It was just crazy. The players. They had Goetze that year. He didn't play in that final. Hummels as well was pretty world class by that point. I remember that final as well. Subotic makes an incredible goal line clearance. I've never seen something like it. As Muller gets sent on goal, he rounds Weidenfeller, passes it to Robben. You think he's going to score because he's so quick, Robben. He's running towards it. Subotic out of nowhere just slide tackles it off the line. I've never seen a goal line clearance. That's probably, if not the best, probably the best goal line clearance I've seen.
Yeah.
He just comes out of nowhere, Subotic, because you think Robben's going to outpace him, and then Subotic just comes in and whacks it off the line. It was just incredible. The names in that buying team was Robben and Ribery. For me, that was their best year playing together. Mandzukic and Gomez, although you may not consider them the best strikers of the decade, they were pretty crucial.
Muller as well.
Muller, he was scoring loads of important goals that year. He scored 3 against Barcelona in that infamous semi-final.
Combined.
Yeah, 4-0 in the first leg, 3-0 in the second. He scored 3 goals in those 2 games. He scored against Juventus before then. He scored a lot of important. I think he was Bayern's top scorer actually in that campaigin.
I wouldn't be surprised with that.
I think other names as well, like Lahm. He was probably had his best year that year. I love Philipp Lahm. I'm a fan of him. I think he's got the perfect combination of how to play as a defensive fullback and as an offense. I mean, Pep Guardiola has actually called Lahm the smartest player he's ever played with.
And when Pep Guardiola says that, that is achievement, because he's worked with Busquets, he's worked with Xavi, he's worked with Iniesta.
Messi, yeah, exactly.
Messi, yeah. Like, if you're smarter than Messi, then that is an achievement in itself.
Yeah, that's a high compliment. Alaba was probably already one of the best left backs in the world, and he was young. I think he was only like 19 or something like that.
I say he was coming into his own. That that whole campaign and stuff. Like that was when he really started to come.
And Boateng as well. Well, yeah, I'd say he was pretty established. Pretty much, you could call him pretty much top 5 centre backs in the world by that point. Schweinsteiger as well. He was a great player in that final. He was at his peak, really. 2013, 2014, Schweinsteiger, probably the ultimate box-to-box midfielder. He was that sort of handy player that could just do everything. So I put that final at 3 just because of that sort of the quality of the final, that game, the quality of that team of Bayern Munich, but also of Dortmund. So there's just lots of great stories around that. And obviously Robben had the heartache the year before. He missed quite a few chances in big games leading up to that in the World Cup final in 2010. And then just to get that moment where he scored the winner was a brilliant moment.
That Robben heartache, that's the perfect segue onto my number 2.
Yes. What is your number 2?
The game where Robben did have that heartache, 2012.
Now, actually, 2012 is my number 2 as well.
Yeah,
so we can talk about this.
Because the reason it's better than 2014 is for me is just because it had more meaning. It's probably the most meaningful Champions League final. And also just the drama around it.
So much drama.
The winning penalty, Drogba scoring the winning penalty, Drogba having the winning header. It was just so. What a game that was! Also how Chelsea was slightly lucky. If there was one criticism of that whole thing, Chelsea
were unbelievable. I think actually
really lucky.
Yeah, they were incredibly lucky that final. It was, even though
that whole campaign. I
mean, we've somewhat slightly downpegged some of Madrid's finals for being a bit lucky, but that was more in terms of sort of maybe certain with Karius doing something silly. Maybe referees being, maybe just being a bit lucky, being unfortunate on their side. It was just the ludicrous luck that they had in that 2012 final. I mean, I watched the clips of it. Bayern just wave after wave after wave. How they didn't score more than one with the likes of Robben, Ribery, Gomez, Müller, Olic as well. He was a decent striker. Schweinsteiger, who could score goals. I mean, they had so many chances they fluffed. But Petr Cech, he was
amazing.
He saved the penalty against Robben, of course, in extra time. He was so crucial to Chelsea winning the Champions League that year. I mean, that was a bizarre year for Chelsea. I mean, they only came sixth in the Premier League that year, but they won the FA Cup and then they won the Champions League. I mean, and you would never say that was one of the all-time great Champions League teams.
Probably one of the worst winners. Like they're probably, I don't know if I'd say they were the worst winners, because there were probably some like ages back were probably worse, but
yeah, but it was just it was just weird because even though some of their big names like Lampard and Terry and Jobber, like none of them, even though in that year, had their best years. Like Terry kind of people thought was coming to end, but he had a revival sort of when Mourinho came back to Chelsea. He had that revival. Lampard was still pretty world class. He was maybe starting to get a bit old, but he was still playing at a high level. It was just you're right. It was just all the drama around it. There was so many stories. Obviously, Chelsea beating Barcelona 3-2 on aggregate when Barca were clearly the favourites.
80% possession, I think they had.
Yeah, it was just
like something crazy.
Yeah, I think it was around 80. They just did that ultimate part of the bus, Joel. And then Fernando Torres scoring that goal to knock Barca out. Yeah. It was just Torres really was sort of his redeeming moment, because obviously he had a pretty shabby season by his standards, and then he sort of rounding Valdez, putting them through. And also, people say it was worth it in the final because he actually won the corner for Drogba's header to get them into extra time.
Yeah, like that Drogba performance, that's the ultimate big game performance. Like,
he was causing problems for that defense, and that header is just iconic. He just runs past all those defenders, shoves Boateng out the way in the air, outmuscles him. Look at me, I'm the big game player, I'm the star. Bullet header into the corner against Neuer, Neuer was at the peak of his powers probably back then. So yeah, there's so much you could talk about from that final. And then Petchek saving the penalty from Robben, just Chelsea just hanging on the whole time. Somehow David Luiz, Gary Cahill being this immense duo all of a sudden out of nowhere. And the penalty shootout, of course, is iconic because Mata, he misses that first penalty for Chelsea, and then buy them. They're going to do it now, and then
Schweinsteiger versus this terrible.
Yeah, it was Olic before. Yeah, it was Olic. Czech saved it, and then Schweinsteiger just boom off the post.
And this run up as well, like it was like one of the stop-start run-ups that never works.
Yeah, he tried to do Ronaldo's run-up from the 2008 final. Why are you trying that?
And we all know how those kind of penalties work against Chelsea. Like, I'd love to talk about that final like even more, because I just love that John Toe penalty.
Yeah, yes, we know, Aram.
Yeah, but Drogba scoring the winning penalty, like honestly.
Yeah, what a moment!
The perfect Drogba night.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that was what he thought would be his last game for Chelsea. Then obviously he did come back in 2014-15, but sort of capping off his time as the last kick of a ball for the Chelsea shirt for a while, to give them that prize that they'd gotten very close to, really. I mean, when that investment from Abramovich came in, they got into the semi-finals pretty consistently, pretty quickly. And they just, eluded them so long, and they gotten close with a lot of great teams. And they finally did it. What a year for English football. I mean, we had Man City's Aguero moment.
Can you not remind me of that?
No, I'll remind you of it. So we had Man City's rise, and then we had Chelsea, winning the FA Cup and the Champions League out of nowhere, really. Right. So what is your number one then?
I think you know what's going to be like, and you're going to find this very controversial. 2018.
Oh, that's interesting. I'll put it at number 5, and you put it at number 1. So why did you put it at number 1 then?
Simply because I wouldn't say by far, because by far would be wouldn't do like the other finals service, but by a little bit of distance, 2018 was probably the most entertaining. The overhead kick and the cowardice, mistakes, that was just so much drama in it. I was literally just glued to my seats.
Yeah, it was. It was that second half. I think really you couldn't take your eyes off it. And I think Liverpool had done such a great job to get to the final. So I don't think a lot of people thought they were getting to that final. Really,
no.
I think when they got drawn against Man City in the quarterfinals, we all said, "Man City will probably probably do it. And then Liverpool just blew Man City away in those quarterfinals. Man City didn't have a chance. Liverpool just dominated them. Had a great semi-final against Roma over those two legs. So they did a great job to get to the final. Really, I think that was an achievement.
I thought Barcelona were going to win it. Like, I know it may surprise you, but before the Roma game, I thought Barca were definitely up for winning it.
I don't know. For me, I didn't think Barca were going to win it. They didn't have their strongest team that year. Messi was really dragged. I mean, actually, to be honest, that year I don't really know how they won both La Liga and the Cup. That was just Messi, really.
I thought Madrid were. I thought it was kind of like one-sided, and it was kind of like the end of an era, kind of. Like, that was the end of the Real Madrid era. Like, it was Ronaldo's last Champions League final with Madrid. It was
the last game with them.
Yeah, it's last game. So like that adds some meaning to it.
Yeah, it does. Because I mean, obviously, Real Madrid really they collapsed last year without him. They just couldn't. I mean, they brought Mariano back to replace him. You don't get Mariano to replace Ronaldo.
He's better.
Oh yeah, well I mean he scored a great goal against Roma in the group stage the following season. That was about. And he did score an El Clasico this season. Actually, he did score then, but well, Ronaldo scored about almost 20 times in El Clasico, so he's got quite a long way to go to match that. So my number one final, I think you can guess, is the 2014 final for me. That final for me, like I said, it was one of the first games I properly sit down. I thought I'm going to watch this. I'm going to learn about football, and it really sort of sparked. Maybe it's a bit more of a personal thing for me. This final, it's just got that sort of personal attachment for me. I sort of really saw, wow, this is what football can do. I saw how attacking can be beautiful, and I saw how defending can be beautiful, and I could see how midfield play could be. I saw the whole range. We saw the whole range of football in that final. You saw brilliant defending from Atletico Madrid, Isaac Godin and Miranda and Juan Fran, Felipe Luis. Courtois was their goalkeeper that year. You know, just defensive. The afterwards, they won La Liga, of course, that year under Simeone, which was a huge achievement for them. But then you just had a fantastic Real Madrid team. I mean, that was the BBC, that trio, Ronaldo, Benzema, Bale. That was their best season, really, that first season. Just incredible. I mean, Ronaldo, even though he didn't play amazing in that final, leading up to that final, he was just an absolute machine leading up into that final.
17 goals, wasn't it, in that whole Champions League?
Yeah, which is a record. I think 17 goals in 13 games. That's incredible.
More than a goal a game, and players who get more than a goal a game, any competition, they're most likely going to be all-time greats.
Yeah, and especially when you do it in the Champions League. And he's done that three. He's done that 3 times now. He's done it 17. He scored 16 in 15-16. So that's more than a goal in. And then he scored in 17. He scored 15 goals. So he's done it 3 times to score more than that, which just shows he is Mr. Champions League. There was a lot of, it was obviously the first ever Madrid derby Champions League final. They'd had a lot of, sort of history between them. Obviously, there was Atletico managed to win La Liga. Real Madrid won the Cup as well. That Gareth Bale amazing solo run goal. There was so much at stake going into it. It was, who is going to get these ultimate bragging rights here? And we just saw some. The goal that Atletico got, it was kind of a clumsy goal really, because Godin did a header, and it was actually a mistake from Casillas because he was way too far off of his line, and then it went in. We really thought Atletico were going to hold on. I mean, Madrid, completely overran their midfield and the defense. Bale actually had a few chances actually, and he spurned them. And then just that header, literally last minute of extra time. Modric's corner. I said that name. Modric. I don't know. That's not his name. Is not Modric. It's Modric. Great corner into Ramos. Jumps up higher than everyone else. Right in the corner. We're going to extra time. Just an iconic moment. And then the extra time, It was actually still fairly tight in the first half of extra time.
Yeah.
And that was when I mentioned Di Maria was just, he was just sensational in that final. He was dazzling to watch. He was left, right. No one can get the ball off him. He was doing all the tricks. It was still fairly tight. I remember then Di Maria just did that 1-2 move on the edge of the box to get skip past. He shoots, Courtois tries to save, and then Bale, he jumps high and he heads it in. Yeah. What a moment. The world's most expensive player who'd had a great season. He missed quite a few chances in the game. He was playing well, but missed a chance. Then he got the header flying, the UK flag proud. And then it was after that, really, Atletico, they just put on such an effort in that final to just keep Madrid out. They knew they couldn't offensively deal with them. And then Marcelo just literally, it was like the Atletico players just let him run through, just shot, went in, and then Ronaldo, they got that penalty right at the end. He scored, and he did that famous, throws his top off. He shows, I am Mr. Champions League. Just what a final. So many moments. It was a game where I really saw the beauty of football. Just my respect for a lot of that Madrid squad just went through the roof, really. And it was, you're right, like you said, it was the beginning of that sort of European. Okay, they did get knocked out by Juventus the following year, but they were, it was a close game still, and it was just unbelievable players, and an unbelievable season for them to get La Decima.
Should we try and reach consensus now? Should we try and decide which final was the best?
Yeah, well, let's try and rank them. So number 10,
10 and 9
so 10 and 9 were in agreement. So 10 is 2019, 9 is 2016, 8 and 7. Well, do you know, actually, you convinced me, actually. I'm happy to put 2015 at 8. I think you're right. I think maybe 2010 maybe had a bit more drama going into it, I think.
But you can't convince me a bit of why 2015 is not better, but why it's extremely good. When I think about it's Xavi's last game for Barca, that is very convincing. But as you were convinced by my ranking, let's do 8 and 7.
Yeah, but I think 2015 as well. I think even though we are only putting it at 8, I think the significance of their winning that. I mean, they you have to remember in the run-up, the round of 16, they beat the champions of England, Man City, quarterfinals, champions of France, PSG, semi-finals, champions of Germany, Bayern Munich, final, champions of Italy, Juventus. Yeah. That proves you are the best team in the world, basically. I think you're right. I think 2010 just had that sort of special significance for the Italian fans, those players, and to win the first ever Italian treble. So 8 is 2015, 7 is 2010, now 6. This is where we could get a bit stuck.
I said 2013, but you loved it so much that actually 2017, maybe we could both agree that, just make a compromise, that 2017 was number 6.
So, well, where did you put 2017? Did you put it at 5?
Number 4.
You put it at number 4.
Yeah, but I'm okay with putting it at number 6 simply because of Xavi and Iniesta, in the 2011 Champions League final.
Why don't
get 6?
Well, okay, we'll put 27. We'll stick with 26. Number 5. Well, but why don't we put 2013? Why don't we put 2013 at 5? Actually,
yeah, 2013 at 5.
We'll put 2013 at 5. I think number 4. I think you put 2018 too high. No. I know the second half. No, I know the second half was iconic, but the only thing I remember that is Ramos's takedown of Salah. That's the only thing you remember from that first half.
That second half was just so good, and because it is my favourite, I don't think we can really compromise that number 4.
But 2014 was more tense than 2018. There was more tension in that.
Yeah, but
it was like 2012 almost, because you thought, how have Real not broken Atletico yet?
2018 was more entertaining, so I think we have to do 2011 at number 4 to, if we want to really reach consensus.
So we'll go that at number 4. So then at the 3, we've got 2014, 2012. I would go 2018 number 3, 2012 number 2, and 24. Well, we're both in agreement at 2. We're both in agreement at 2.
I'm okay to concede ground for 2014 at number 1 for the consensus one. Personal preference 2018, but I'm okay to concede ground on this one because they were all just minute differences.
I think 2014, just for me, had the better football on display. It was just like the ultimate battle of attack versus defense.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas 2018, it was more. Well, it had some brilliant moments, but it just has like some comedy in it. It was like, it was like, what the hell's going on in this final? I mean, of course, I love it. Of course, I do love the 2018 final. I think pretty much from number 8, I think we say we love them as games. But if you're happy to go 2018 at 3, 2012 at 2, and number 1 at 2014.
Yeah, like I'm happy to concede ground. Like even though I personally prefer 2018, like it's something that I can concede ground on, really.
Yeah, and it was a derby as well. Number 1, it was a big derby as well. I just think it had a bit more charm. That wasn't as hard actually as I thought it was going to be. That unanimous one. We've been quite fair.
Yeah.
So just to recap, so actually, well, let's just to round it off. We'll read off our lists and then we'll say the answer one. So this is my list. Number 10 was 2019. Number 9 was 2016. Number 8 was 2010. Number 7 was 2015. Number 6 was 2017. Number 5 was 2018. Number 4 was 2011. Number 3 was 2013. Number 2 was 2012. And number 1 was 2014. And Aram, read off yours.
My number 10 was 2019. Number 9 was 2016. Number 8 was 2015. Number 7 was 2010. Number 6 was 2013. Number 5 was 2011. Number 4 was 2017. Number 3 was 2014. Number 2, 2012. And number 1, 2018.
Okay, and then our unanimous one was number 10, 2019. Number 9, 2016. Number 8, 2015. Number 7, 2010. What is it? 2017.
Number 6 was 2013.
Number 5, 2013.
2011.
Yeah.
Number 3, 2018. Number 2, 2012. And number 1, 2018. No, 2014.
2014. There we go. We've just about remembered the unanimous one. We've just said it. Do ask us in the comments to tell it again. We'll do a memory test for you. So I think that brings it to an end. I think that shows that was a pretty remarkable decade overall of Champions League finals.
Probably one of the best, if not the best, or at least the Champions League era.
I think so. Probably. I think of the Champions League era, probably. I mean, the 2000s had some great finals.
They did have some great finals, 2000s, but they also had some quite mediocre finals. So I say the 2010s was the best.
Yeah, I think overall, and hopefully 2020s, when this bloody coronavirus goes away. At some point, we really appreciate all the work that NHS staff and the care home workers are doing and all the key workers. So let's continue this fight and hopefully we'll be able to enjoy special nights like UEFA Champions League finals again soon. And let's hope for another great decade of Champions League finals, a competition that we
hope it's even better.
Yeah, let's hope it's even better. So we'll bring it there. We'll stop rambling on. So thank you, Aram, for joining me.
Anytime. Thank you, Charlie, for also joining me.
Well, thank you. Good to talk. And we will see you next time. Viewers, take care. Au revoir.